The first time Ethan saw Lily, it wasn't some grand, cinematic moment. No dramatic music, no slow-motion glance. She was simply standing in line at a small coffee shop, fumbling with her wallet while balancing a book under her arm. The book, 1,000 Splendid Suns. That was what caught his eye. "Great book," he said without thinking. She looked up, her deep brown eyes locking onto his. There was a flicker of amusement in them. "You've read it?" He nodded. "Twice." She smiled, shaking her head. "Guess I'm behind." That was it. A simple exchange, a moment in time. But that's how real love begins, not in fireworks but in small sparks. The slow bloom. Days passed, then weeks. By coincidence, or maybe fate, they kept bumping into each other at the same coffee shop. Conversations grew longer. She learned he was a software engineer with a love for old Urdu poetry. He found out she was a teacher, passionate about literature and the way stories shaped people. One day, she walked in looking unusually tired. "Rough day?" he asked as she sat across from him. She sighed. "Parent-teacher meetings." A mother cried because she felt she wasn't doing enough for her son. It just stuck with me. Ethan listened. He didn't say something profound, didn't offer solutions. He just listened. And that's when she knew he wasn't just someone to pass time with. He was someone who made space for her thoughts, her emotions. And just like that, they became inseparable. The first, "I love you." It happened on a chilly November evening. They were walking through a quiet street, their breath visible in the cold air. She was telling him about a student who had written a heartbreaking poem about missing his late father. Ethan stopped walking. "You care so deeply about others," he said, admiration evident in his voice. "It's one of the things I love about you." Lily blinked. She said it's not in a grand declaration, but in a way that felt natural, as if it had always been there, waiting to be spoken. She took his hand. "I love you too." No fireworks. No dramatic music. Just two souls acknowledging what had already been true for a while. Love in the Monday. Their love wasn't about extravagant gestures. It was in how he brought her ginger tea when she had a sore throat. In how she made sure he had a home-cooked meal after long workdays. In the way he listened to her read out loud and how she memorized his favorite lines of poetry. But love isn't just the good days. It's also in the moments that test you. The first fight. It was over something trivial, an unreturned call, a misunderstanding about plans. But in the heat of the moment, words were sharper than they should have been. "I feel like I'm the only one making an effort sometimes," she snapped. Ethan's expression darkened. "That's not fair." Silence. Anger. A night apart, hearts heavy with unsaid words. But love is also in the way you choose to return. The next morning he showed up at her door, an apologetic look in his eyes. She had already brewed coffee for two. They sat in silence before he finally said, "I don't want to fight. I just want to understand." And that was love too, the willingness to sit through discomfort, to choose each other even when it was hard. Weathering the storm. Life tested them in ways they hadn't expected. Lily's mother fell ill, and the strong, independent woman Ethan knew suddenly looked small and exhausted. "I don't know how to do this," she admitted one night, curled up on his couch, eyes filled with unspoken fears. He wrapped his arms around her. "You don't have to do it alone." And he proved it, driving her to hospital visits, making her mother laugh, being her anchor when she felt like she was drowning. Love wasn't just in the good times. It was in the unwavering presence during the worst. The proposal. It wasn't grand. It wasn't planned. They were sitting on her rooftop, the city lights flickering in the distance. She was wearing an old sweater, and he had just finished reciting a poem by Faiz Ahmed Faiz. And then, out of nowhere, he asked, "Marry me?" Lily turned to him, surprised. "Is that your way of proposing?" He shrugged. "I don't need a perfect moment. I just need you." She smiled, tears brimming. "Yes." And just like that, love, real, imperfect, beautiful love, found its forever. Epilogue. Love in the little things. Years later, their love still wasn't about grand gestures. It was in how he kissed her forehead before leaving for work. In how she kept his favorite tea stocked. In shared silences, in laughter, in the quiet certainty that love wasn't in the big moments, but in all the little things that made up a life together. Because real love isn't just about falling. It's about choosing every single day.